Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock, 6th day of September. It's Wednesday. Feels like a Tuesday, but it's Wednesday. We got a lot of stuff going on here today. We got Mac Morey in the newsroom, Chris Weber in the control room, and I am your friend and radio buddy, and this is The Drive. I'm going to tell you right now that when I stick my foot in it, I'm willing to say, you know what, that was dumb, Wilson. That was just dumb what you just said. And I'm not sure that I didn't have a point, but I was not sensitive, which of course is not one of my strong suits. But I wasn't sensitive to the needs of others. And so, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I was I just, opining as I am wont to do. And I said something about libraries. And I said, do we even need libraries anymore? And I mentioned the fact that way back when the internet was still just in its infancy, I got a master's degree and never went to the library once because I got every bit of information, every bit of research that I needed on the internet. And I said, in a time where, the world is at your fingertips, do we really, need to, keep talking? Is it an anachronism? Do we need libraries? I don't know. I think it's something worth talking about since we spend a lot of money on them as taxpayers. But I was disabused of that notion by a listener. She just said, just sign me a Nashville conservative with limited funds. Let me read a little bit from I don't ever read letters, but this is she's good. She puts me in my place, and I'm fine with that. I'm a fan and a frequent listener of your show, but after hearing you talk about libraries yesterday, I had to respond. Some of us can't buy books and don't want to read online. I have a PC and a smartphone. I don't want to read on my phone, and I'm not going to sit by my PC to read. I can't afford to buy books. I'm a widow, and my Social Security pays my rent of $1,920 with about $65 to spare. I'm living on savings, and I'll need that to die in I'll need to die in 3 or 4 years because that's apparently when her savings are going to run off. I think she's joking. Fortunately, I'm okay with that. I can search the library web for a book I want, and then I can reserve it online. They send me an email when it's ready for pickup. I don't have to interact with anyone at the library. The books available for pickup are on shelves in alphabetical order with our names attached. I use a computer with my library card to easily check it out. A printed receipt tells me when the book is due for return. And when I want to return the book, there's a drive-through to drop off books. If there is a book in the library that they don't have, I can request it through the Interlibrary Loan Program. The books come from other cities, libraries, and sometimes from other states. Wonderful program. I utilize it, and I appreciate it. The library is always a busy place. I see a lot of moms with their children. Then she gets personal. You shouldn't denigrate something you obviously know nothing about. I know you make a lot of money. Well, I don't know. I'm sure you and Cabana Wife have a beautiful home after, selling your homes, and you enjoy vacations. I live in an apartment. I can't afford vacations. I have no wealthy children to bail me out, and I can't afford to buy books. Just sign me a Nashville conservative with limited funds. Okay, so I take your point. I guess the question that I would want to say is if you can get a book, and this is a system that works for you, but I would say that you are not the norm. I would say that today young people rarely sit down with books, but they do read, and they're well informed in many cases because they read endlessly on the World Wide Web, Al Gore's amazing internet. And so I take your point that it works for you. I'm not sure how many other people it works for, but okay. What I really learned from this conversation is that I need to be more sensitive to the fact that there are a lot of people who are struggling right now and just don't have a lot of extra money and an extra lot of dough. And I look through the news and I report on it every day. She tells me in a way that brings it to life. But Americans are struggling right now, truly struggling. There are a lot of us out there who are, living paycheck to paycheck. And it's difficult. And every day I have a stack of stories here that talk about this, perhaps not as effectively as this woman did. And by the way, I appreciate the letter. I really do. I appreciate the beautifully written, nice lady. I assume lady. I don't know. Just what I sort of picked up on. Well, she said widow. So there you go. Chief, this is some of the stuff that people are dealing with right now. Americans may have been a little flush, actually, with the money that was sent to them by the government during the pandemic. But that money is running out. And now Americans are whipping out plastic to make ends meet. Debt is rising. Over the past couple of years, Americans consumers flush with pandemic stimulus cash have had little difficulty making payments. Credit cards and delinquency and charge-off were low because they had a little money left over from the pandemic. But now it's returning to normal. And American households showed U.S. credit card balances breached $1 trillion for the first time in the second quarter of this year, 16% higher than last year. Well, I mean, that's bad. People are having to actually default. Here's another story. Inflation squeezed Americans are defaulting on their credit cards and auto loans at levels not seen since the financial crisis. And the struggle to pay their bills is poised to get worse as interest rates rise and the moratorium on student loans expire. Low, middle income earners have been hit especially hard by soaring prices on everything from rent, groceries, new and used cars, despite the Federal Reserve's attempts to tamp down stubbornly high inflation. Credit card delinquencies have hit 3.8%. 3.6% have defaulted on their car loans. Both figures are the highest in more than 10 years. The increase in delinquencies and defaults is symptomatic of the tough decisions that these households are having to make right now. I completely get that. Decisions that, choose what do you pay for your household food, you buy your rent or your groceries, or putting gas in the tank. And of course, all of this comes at a time when the president of the United States is out there making these wild, statements about Bidenomics, and tells me that, it's working. They are absolutely,
It's working.
Yeah, it's working. That's what he says. Well, it's not working for this lady. It's not working for the people who are having to default on their credit cards. It's not working for the people who have to, can't put gas in their tank. And government continues to grow in this environment. The U.S. budget deficit is projected to double this year. Double. Federal budget deficit expected to surge to $2 trillion. Now, how is this happening? Well, let me just tell you. The U.S. federal deficit, according to Fox Business, will double this year as a result of higher interest rates and lower tax revenue. The gap between what the government spends and what it collects is expected to grow from $1 trillion last year to $2 trillion for the 2023 fiscal year that ends September 30th. This would be the highest deficit we've ever had outside of a recession or a national emergency. The sizable increase stems from a number of factors, including high inflation, more expensive interest payments, a drop in taxes and tax income that goes to the government, as the deficit dropped from close to $3 trillion to roughly $1 trillion after we had all kinds of this spending during COVID. But don't worry.
It's working.
It's working. Bidenomics going to get you out of it. There's not a thing you need to worry about. In 2022, the government enjoyed a surge in capital gains revenue, but that has faded at now. So, in 1 year, the deficit, mostly because of interest rates, will go from $1 to $2 trillion. Oh, that's unbelievable. It's not easy getting out there. It's not easy trying to, put food on the table and a roof over your head and clothes on your back. And it's going to get increasingly hard to put fuel in your tank. And by the way, this is going to have a real impact on the elections. Saudi Arabia's extension of oil production cuts until the end of 2023 or longer helps to ensure that energy prices will become an election issue in 2024. Gasoline prices are on the rise. We've got a barrel of oil now nearly $90. And, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is keeping its current reduction, and the Russians are playing the game as well. The Russians have no love for us because of what we're doing in Ukraine. So they are manipulating the oil market so that people are going to have a hard time paying for gasoline. By the way, expensive fuel costs rip through the economy, increasing what? Everybody with me? Inflation. Everything goes up when gasoline goes up because it takes gasoline, diesel, or some kind of energy to get things to market, to get your goods and services where they need to be. And so that's really going to have an impact on inflation. And what's how do you beat inflation? The only thing you can do is keep raising interest rates. So if you put your money on a credit card, guess what? Your credit rating, is going to go up and up and up and up and up and up. I mean, it's a vicious cycle and difficult. But don't worry, everybody, because
It's working.
it's working. There's a really interesting story. I'm gonna get into a little of it. How might Saudi Arabia's oil confrontation with the Biden administration play out? Oil market reactions, OPEC supply decisions. I mean, when you don't have enough of a certain commodity, whether it's it doesn't matter what the commodity is. That's just the way it works. You don't have the certain commodity, it's in low supply. What does that mean? Price goes up. Price goes up. All right, so if you don't have oil and gas, or it's more expensive to use oil and gas, the price of every commodity in the grocery store goes up because you're having to pay those energy costs to get it to market. So, the Saudis, not our friend right now. The Russians, of course, were never our friends. And everything that I see economically suggests that while, we might be making a little headway on inflation, the underlying problems are still there. And inflation is going to be a problem. Interest rates are going to continue to go. It's at 7 right now. It's a little over 7. And we probably go 8 or 9 before this is all done. We need to understand that there are going to be people like this lovely person who wrote me the email about libraries. I hear you talking, and setting aside our disagreement about the importance of libraries. I hear that, you're one of these people. It reminds me there's so many folks out there who are struggling to get food on the table, clothes on your back, a roof over your head, gasoline in the tank. It's all becoming a struggle, and it's all because of the Biden administration. But don't worry, because
It's working.
it's working. In a minute, another bad idea from the Biden administration may be causing you problems. You may be in danger in a way that you could not even imagine. And I'll get you that right after we take this break. 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Some breaking news regarding Hunter Biden, President Biden's son. Some news on the aftermath of Mitch McConnell and his freeze up, plus a stolen tractor in Tennessee. That and more 3:30 right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Thank you, Mac Morey. Brian Wilson in the chair. And for those of you, I want to apologize to people who are watching on Super Talk TV because this shirt is like, it's like.
I'm telling you.
It's got a sparkle to it. I mean, in TV terms, this is called a shirt that morays.
Morays, yeah.
That's
no,
the word.
See, you can't rock back and forth like that.
I know because if I do this, if I just rock back and forth, it's hit me. I'm being hypnotized. I mean, oh my gosh, that's just too much. You'll have to come over to Super Talk TV to see what I'm talking about. But you won't, bring your sunglasses.
Yeah.
And if you're prone to epileptic fits, do not come over to Super Talk TV.
Yeah, because you'll. Whoa.
Yeah, I'm telling you that shirt. Whew. I was going to talk about another thing that's dangerous for you, and it has to do with electric vehicles. I mean, the administration. The reason they're not real interested in gas is they want you to feel the pain at the pump, so you move over to electric cars. They don't want you to be driving gasoline cars. I mean, it's just their stated policy. Listen to this. After an electric vehicle fire in Franklin, the fire department said that they had a real struggle with the lithium-ion battery. Franklin Fire Department authorities said departments across Middle Tennessee are struggling with electric vehicle fires and their car batteries, pointing to an example this week in a parking lot. Franklin Fire Marshal Andy King said a Nissan Leaf caught fire at the car maker's headquarters in Cool Spring on Tuesday afternoon. The Leaf was in the fastest charging port, and firefighters had to apply water. In one story I read, they said thousands of gallons of water to put out the fire, and it took several hours. The water doesn't stop the fire. All you're doing is you're cooling the situation, and then after finally burns out the material in the battery, then the fire will come to a close. Here's an example again. Electric vehicles are catching fire after Hurricane Idalia made landfall. According to local reports, at least 2 Tesla EVs ignited after salt water from the storm surge damaged their batteries and other electric components. And people who survived the hurricane, their homes largely intact, but they had water that got up into the car, and then the cars caught on fire, and then the houses burned down. Carfax says owners need to understand that fire risk doesn't go away when the EV dries out. Apparently, it can still be a problem weeks and months later. It's a complicated thing I won't explain to you, but one way or the other, you can have damage to the battery that may not reveal itself for a while. We saw a number of fires associated with EVs from Hurricane Ian. We know that the salt water from a storm can compromise these batteries, causing fires which cannot be easily suppressed. I remember one time an old news director told me that he wanted me to, if you ever heard on the scanner, there's a car fire, go get it some pictures of it. I said, why? It's the most common fire in America. And that's back when you had old-fashioned carburetors. But now you have fuel injection, and that is less of a thing. Now your danger comes if you have an electric car. You get it too wet, you go through water gets into your battery, and you've lost your car. I mean, it's going to burn up like you have never seen, causing the fire departments to spend hours on a task that normally would take about 20 seconds if it's a regular car fire to knock out. They're there for hours spraying thousands of gallons of water just to keep the situation under control. EVs, another reason why we don't need them. Okay, now I'll probably get a letter from somebody who says, well, you don't know what you're talking about. The EVs are great. Well, okay.
I drive my EV to the library every day.
That's exactly what's going to happen, I'm sure. It is 30 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 3:30. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories right now. 87 degrees in Nashville. A chance for some thunderstorms later on. Weather forecast traffic report just 5 minutes away. This just in from CNN. The Justice Department said today that special counsel David Weiss intends to seek an indictment against President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, relating to gun charges by the end of the month. Hunter Biden had previously reached a deal involving a gun possession charge that would have allowed him to avoid prosecution if he met certain conditions over a 24-month period. And once his plea deal fell apart in court, the future of the gun deal has now been in limbo. The nation's capital, top Senate Republican Mitch McConnell took questions from reporters today, insisting he'll finish his current term as his party's leader despite the recent examples of him freezing in place in public. Stephen Portnoy.
He stood flanked by his colleagues at his regular weekly engagement with the Capitol Hill press corps. Mitch McConnell had no difficulty taking questions, but he didn't fully answer the one he was repeatedly asked. Why has he had those episodes?
I think Dr. Monahan covered the subject.
The attending physician says there's no evidence of a mini-stroke, seizure disorder, or Parkinson's, and most of McConnell's fellow Republicans are standing by his side. But Missouri's Josh Hawley isn't.
I mean, if you're concerned about the president's ability to do his job, and I am, and a lot of Republicans say they are, then you've got to be concerned when it's somebody from your own party.
Crime in Tennessee, a stolen tractor. The Wilson County Police are looking for a Kubota tractor that was stolen from a home. 35-year-old Joshua Merrick has been identified as a suspect and has been charged with theft of property. Police now know the tractor was sold after it was stolen. Officials are now searching for where the tractor could be now. That is the latest news. Weather and traffic next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It is 36 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. An update on the investigation into Hunter Biden's business dealings and how they connect to the current president of the United States. This story is just breaking, and CNN seems to have the best details on it so far. Special counsel David Weiss intends to seek an indictment against President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, relating to gun charges by the end of the month. This in official filing by the Justice Department. He had previously reached a deal involving gun possession that would have allowed him to avoid prosecution if he met certain conditions. Once his plea deal fell apart in court, the future of the gun deal has been in limbo, and the Speedy Trial Act requires that the government obtain the return of an indictment by a grand jury on or before Friday, September 29th at the earliest. The government intends to seek the return of the indictment in this case before that date, according to the special counsel's office and a court filing. Biden's lawyers are expected to submit their own filing by the end of the day. So much news with regard to Hunter Biden. Emails released by the National Archives now show that Biden's communication director, Kate Bedingfield, would email Eric Schwerin, a former business associate of Hunter Biden's, about press inquiries the vice president received regarding Hunter Biden's role on the board of Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company. According to the email, Schwerin, who served as managing director of the investment firm Rosemont Seneca Partners, which Hunter Biden co-founded with Devon Archer, would help walk through ways to squash the story about Hunter Biden's position on the board. I would just urge her, as far as you know you are doing, that there is no new news there. And this actually did come up today in the White House briefing. A great question, not such a great answer from Karine Jean-Pierre.
The letter cites email traffic between Kate Bedingfield and Eric Schwerin, who's a longtime Hunter Biden business associate, in which Bedingfield signed off on quotes that should be used to respond to media inquiries about Hunter's involvement in Burisma. How do you respond to criticism that shows there was no wall between then Vice President Biden's work and his family's business dealings?
I understand the question. I appreciate the question. I get the question. I'm just going to let the White House counsel team answer that question.
Wow, did you be putting on? I didn't.
I understand the question. I appreciate the question. I get the question. I'm just going to let the White House counsel team answer that.
I know nothing at all. I hear the question. I appreciate the question, but there's no way I'm touching that question with a 10-foot pole.
I understand the question. I appreciate the question. I get the question. I'm just going to let the White House counsel team answer that question.
Bok, 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 bok. There. Meanwhile, now that the House is back, things are starting to ramp up again. House Oversight Committee Chairman Representative James Comer sent a letter to the National Archives asking for unredacted emails involving communications between Vice President Joe Biden's office and Hunter Biden's business associates. They're not going to get this. I mean, everything they asked for, they're going to get blocked. There are all kinds of activity with this regard, and both Jim Jordan, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and James Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, were talking about this on Fox and talking about the importance of getting to this point where they can have an impeachment inquiry. First Jordan, then Comer.
The White House is getting all ready because they know what's likely to happen later this month. The Speaker's been clear about this. If we need to go to an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight work, we will do that. They're getting ready, but we're going to come at this from all angles. Mr. Comer today subpoenaed documents and individuals from DHS and the Secret Service. Chairman Smith has subpoenaed individuals from the IRS who were part of the investigation into Hunter Biden. We have subpoenaed individuals from the FBI who were part of the investigation. We want them in for depositions. So we're coming at this from three sides to get the facts for the country so we know whether we need to go to impeachment inquiry. But it is looking like more and more every day we need to go to that phase of our oversight work.
I've been in conversation with a lot of the moderate members who obviously for various reasons have been concerned about this, but the evidence is overwhelming. And the fact that the White House announced today they're creating a war room as opposed to cooperating with our investigation. If Joe Biden's completely innocent, if he's running the most transparent administration in history, like he said, if he's been completely honest with the American people about his knowledge and involvement in his family's shady business schemes, then why won't they just comply with our request?
I mean, and why do they need a war room? That's a great point. If you've done nothing wrong, as you allege, why do you need a war room? You know, we're not going to find anything when we can dig around. And they know they're going to find stuff.
We haven't requested anything that I think anyone would say is out of the ordinary. This is a credible investigation. Everything that we have made public is new information that no one knew before. We've caught Joe Biden in countless lies about his knowledge and involvement in his family's shady business schemes. And this, I think, even members of the moderate wing of our party are realizing this could potentially be the biggest political scandal in my adult lifetime. We have a president who has evidence that his family's taken over $20 million from foreign nationals. We have sworn testimony and emails that show that the president was doing favors in exchange for this money his family is receiving. This is very serious. We need to get all the facts. We've been producing evidence. We're at some roadblocks now with this administration. This impeachment inquiry will help us get all the evidence so the American people can know once and for all exactly what Joe Biden did and when he did it.
The impeachment inquiry is really, I want to make sure everybody understand, it's not an impeachment. So think of it this way. The impeachment inquiry is like investigators doing the research to find out what the facts are, you know, like a DA or a police organization would in a regular criminal trial. So they're out there and they're out there digging around to find out what they can find. But if they hit a wall, then they can impose this thing known as impeachment inquiry, which supercharges the ability of the House of Representatives to conduct an investigation, to issue subpoenas, etc. So, what they have to have first is somebody over at the Biden administration or somebody at the Department of Justice or somebody at the FBI saying, well, you can ask for this document, but we're not going to give it to you. Okay, then we will launch an impeachment inquiry, which will give us greater power to get those things you say we can't have. So that's going to happen. They're already starting to deny requests that are coming from the House. And as we mentioned, there's now a war room. The White House has set up a war room to simply deal with this matter. All right, so the impeachment inquiry then comes along, and then if you investigate and you find that there is reason to have an impeachment trial, then you have that. You have the impeachment process, which is sort of like, imagine it's sort of like an indictment being handed up. In this case, it would be handed up to the Senate, and then the Senate would be required then to do a trial of some kind. However, with Democrats in charge, you have to understand there's not a great deal of enthusiasm for such a trial, and it will be, managed by the Democrats so that there is no conviction. Now, I don't know. Maybe what happens is they get something that is just so irrefutable, so shocking about what has happened that even the Democrats can't defend it. And if that happens, then, there's a chance of a conviction in the Senate. But what is likely to happen here is an impeachment inquiry, which leads to an impeachment by the House, which is basically an indictment, handed up to the Senate, and the Senate will try to do everything they can, because it's Democrat-controlled body, to quash the thing. That's where we are now. And it's looking as if the process is, they've dug in their heels, and the Republicans in the House are still uncovering amazing and shocking information each and every day. As you heard James Comer say, this could be the biggest scandal of our lifetime. When we started covering this thing, I said, and I thought, am I overplaying it? I don't think I am. This is Watergate level stuff. Honestly, if you can prove it, It is Watergate level stuff, and it seems as if that's where we are right now. So this investigation, new developments, even as we speak this afternoon. The House Republicans now back at work after an August recess with renewed vigor to get to the bottom of this stuff, but understanding that they're going to run into walls, that the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, the FBI, the National Archives are all going to put up a wall that prevents them from getting to the truth. And so then we'll have the impeachment inquiry, followed by the handing of an indictment, which is basically the impeachment. That thing goes to the Senate, and the Senate then will have to conduct some sort of trial. It's all headed, and that's what our fall is likely to be like as this goes forward. But I'm telling you, if true and if proven, this is a scandal. This is an unmitigated scandal. Now, you know about it because you listen to this radio station, you listen to this program. A lot of people don't have any idea that this is going on because the mainstream media are basically ignoring it completely. Oh, sure, anytime there's something to do with Trump and one of his many legal trials that are going on, or an indictment here, or the E. Jean Carroll thing is in the news again today. I mean, you're going to hear about that endlessly. Everybody's going to hear everything. But if anything comes up out of this investigation, mainstream media, by and large, are ignoring it. And I'm telling you, it's shocking that they can do that, because anybody who takes a moment to look at what the Republicans have uncovered, you have to acknowledge that this thing, there's some there. There are good reasons to ask these questions. The smoking gun hasn't come yet, but I'm telling you, I think we're close. The one thing that puts us all together is something that proves that Joe Biden directly received money from one of Hunter Biden's, corrupt business investments. And I think there's a hint out there about which one it is. And remember that then of all the bank accounts where money has been dropped, there's one for, Hunter. There's one for the business partners. There's one for, Jim Biden. There's one for a bunch of family members. They all got a little money out of the deal. And then there is a bank account which nobody has really been able to figure out who it belongs to, which doesn't say Hunter Biden or Jim Biden. It just says Biden. Who is that? Is that the big guy? Hunter Biden has said, he gives half of everything that he has earned to the big guy. Is that where the money ended? 20 shell companies. If you don't have 20 shell companies filtering your money and bouncing money around from this company to this company to this bank account to this bank account, you don't have that kind of operation unless you're doing something shady. And I think James Comer has the right question. As Americans look at it, you're not guilty till proven so in a court of law, or in this particular case, with an impeachment. But why would you have a war room if you were comfortable in the knowledge, as you have stated time and time again, I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. Then why do you need a war room? You need a war room because you've done something wrong, and you know that you're going to need every bit of help you can get when they finally find that thing they're looking for. 50 minutes now, past the hour of 3 o'clock. Well, let's talk about Beacon Capital Management. How are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management say, well, it can be a little scary, but they can help you. They have a plan to assess where you are and help you make any mid-course corrections that might be needed. Wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide you that reassurance. Now, it starts with a phone call. Here's the number, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon will ask you some questions and then take it from there. I mean, what do you have to lose except for all of the worry? So get started today by calling 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all of your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence you're on the right path. Again, the number, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have two people here, they're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing, education, and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
An indictment could be coming soon for the president's son. Another sex scandal in Laverne amongst officials there in that town. And we're learning about a close call last month in Phoenix between a New York-bound American Airlines flight and a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737. Learn more at 4 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I think they need to check the water over there in Laverne, find out what's going on with that. I mean, what the heck is going on in Laverne? Looking at the markets, Dow Jones Industrial's down almost 200 points. S&P is down 31. The NASDAQ down a full percentage point, 148 points. So all screens are red here. The concern is inflation and then interest rates that go up. Standing by with more on that from Beacon Capital Management is Pete Benson. Hello, Pete.
Hey, hello, Brian. It was a rough day in the market today. Seems like there are lots of lingering concerns about inflation. Of course, that caused heavy doubts whether the Federal Reserve will be cutting interest rates anytime soon, which a lot of people were hoping for. All three of the major indexes were down, with just one of the drivers being crude oil, which, by the way, touched $90 now. So that's up there. And guess we'll all be reaching deeper in the pocket at the gas pumps. So it seems. And the next Fed meeting, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say, you're right. Near $90 a barrel of Brent crude, and West Texas Intermediate crude not far behind. Thank you very much, Pete Benson from Beacon Capital Management. Learn more about all the things they can do for you by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 87 degrees currently on Music Row. Some harsh rain and thunderstorms possible as we go through this afternoon into the evening. Complete weather and traffic report in 5 minutes. A new court filing from federal prosecutors indicate that the president's son, Hunter Biden, may soon be under indictment. Stephen Portnoy has the latest.
The filing is an update for the federal judge in Delaware whose skepticism of the plea deal between Hunter Biden and prosecutors led to its unraveling. This matter specifically involves the felony gun possession charge that prosecutors were willing to set aside in exchange for Hunter Biden's guilty pleas to 2 tax-related misdemeanors. The prosecutors now say that under the terms of the Speedy Trial Act, they're obliged to seek an indictment on the gun charge by the end of the month, and they say they intend to do so sooner than that.
And right now in Laverne, News 2 says that the city's code director has been fired after allegations of sexual harassment Two women have claimed that Randolph Salyers sexually harassed them and made, quote, unwanted physical contact and verbally suggestive remarks. People have come forward as witnesses to these allegations. Salyers was first placed on administrative leave on August 21st and then fired yesterday. And this comes after the Laverne Police Department's sex scandal, where multiple officers, including the police chief, were fired about 7 months ago. And we are learning about a close call last month in Phoenix between a New York-bound American Airlines flight and a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737. Alex Stone.
Departure American 1388.
Both the American Airlines and Southwest flights had been given clearance to take off. They were on parallel runways. After liftoff, the FAA says the American flight turned toward the Southwest plane. Heard on liveatc.net.
1388, traffic alert, 9 o'clock, less than a mile, Boeing 737, 3000. You have the traffic in sight, 2286. Okay, if you need to turn left, immediately do so.
The Southwest plane took evasive action, turning 30 degrees to the left. An automated anti-collision system activated.
1388, ident.
The FAA is now investigating. The two planes were about 300 feet apart in altitude.
And a fire in Tennessee. A house fire happened around 3:30 in the morning. It was on Horton Highway. A family of four, along with a dog, were in the house, and all of them were able to make it out alive. Right now, officials say that an electrical issue is more than likely the cause of those flames. And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, good afternoon. 7 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. Hour number 2 already underway on this, the 6th day of September. Let's get you home safely. Make sure that you learn something along the way. And then maybe, I don't know, along the way you'll, you might get a laugh or a chuckle, because we like to keep it light here. But I'm going to, this is not a light topic, however. I'm going to continue to talk, as I do a lot, about the border, because I must say that I think, I hope that I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong. I'm very concerned about the number of people who are coming into this country that we don't know anything about. And even those that we do know something about, because they've had some interaction with the Border Patrol or ICE, the data are not good. The data are not good. 75,000 illegal immigrants, according to the Blaze, flagged as having possible ties to terrorism in just the last year, according to the Border Patrol data that has been released. I'm going to repeat that again. 75,000 illegal immigrants flagged as having possible ties to terrorism have entered this country or have tried to enter this country, have been flagged by the Border Patrol. How many got in? How many got in? The ones we don't know about. From 2022, October 2022 through August 2023, 74,904 illegal aliens were labeled as SIA encounters, which stands for Special Interest Alien. According to a Department of Homeland Security article, an SIA is a non-U.S. person who potentially poses a national security risk to the United States. Excuse me. Dadgum allergies, I'm sorry. Who potentially poses a national security risk to the United States or its interests. Often such individuals or groups are employing travel patterns known or evaluated to possibly have a nexus to terrorism. DHS analysis includes an examination of travel patterns, point of origin, and or travel segments that are tied to current assessments of national and international threat environments. This does not mean that all SIAs are terrorists, the government says. However, the travel and behavior of certain individuals indicates a possible nexus to nefarious activity. 75,000 that we know about. But this is the concern right here. You ready for this one? I mean, be afraid. There's no reason that you should. I mean, you should take this seriously. We need to be afraid about this. Among the more than 8.6 million people who've illegally entered the United States since Joe Biden took office, at least 1.6 million are gotaways. Okay, now let's talk about this. First of all, think about this number. 8.6 million people. 8.6 million people have come into this country illegally since Joe Biden took office. And then 1.6 million of those, in addition to that, there are 1.6 million who are gotaways. In other words, they were seen, they were picked up on sensors, the cameras showed them coming across the border, but they just didn't have the resources to get to them. Well, given the fact that we have so many that are here that have possible ties to terrorism that have been in contact with police, how many are coming across out of this 1.6 million that we don't know anything about? We don't know anything about them. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what they're doing. Are they people seeking a better way of life, or are there people here to destroy this country? We don't know. 1.6 million. They don't file asylum or any immigration-related claims. They intentionally, illegally enter to avoid being caught. Many have criminal records. They often run when they are pursued by Border Patrol agents or others in law enforcement, because most of the people coming across want to be caught because they know that, if you get caught, you'll get a piece of paper, you're going to America. But when they chase the gotaways, they run. Why are they running? Because they're not good people, and they're not here, in seeking a better way of life. Many of them, of the 1.6 million that are in this country, do not have our best interest at heart. Now think about this for a moment. 1.6 million people. Let's say a third of them are really, really bad people. And that's being generous, I think. That means that there's 500,000 people in this country who may not have our best interest at heart. Are they just trying to get in and maybe they got something on their record? Yeah, I'm sure there's some of them that are like that. I think some of them are being sent in here with a desire to disrupt what goes on in this country. If you're an intelligence agency from Russia or China or North Korea or 10 or 12 other places that I can think of, and you are able to slip into the United States and evaporate into the fabric of this country, where we don't know where you are, we don't know what you're up to, we don't know, maybe you're getting a little money sent to you to keep you operating because you're a sleeper cell. I mean, honestly, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. I'm not being a conspiracy nut, but you would take advantage of that. If you were the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, you would absolutely take advantage of the chaos on the border to put people in the country and just have them stay there. We'll let you know when we need you. Oh, we'll have something for you to do down the line. And by the way, let us know where you are so we can send you money. They want them here. They want them here. Remember, and I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm just being a nut job, but it was 12 people with box cutters that caused 9/11. We may have 500,000. We may have 1 million. We may have 1.6 million people who are out to do us harm when the time comes. I mean, if you were going to think about this, one of the Chinese worried about that they're going to try to claim Taiwan, and we're going to get in there and we're going to be in an adversarial relationship with China as they go for Taiwan. But you got people splayed about the country who can disrupt and cause problems inside America. And I mean, they could really cause a lot of trouble in very short order. Wouldn't you, as an intelligence agency, wouldn't you take advantage of that chaos? I would like to think that maybe somehow we would if the situation were reversed. Joe Biden has a policy on the border that he thinks is benevolent. And I look at it and I say, this is the road to ruin. This is allowing people a free rein to come into this country and just wait until they are called upon by their various governments to do harm in this country. I'm telling you, I think there are a lot of terrorist organizations who are taking advantage of this, and we don't know crap about the 1.6 million people who got away. Arizona border sector becomes the deadliest crossing point for migrants. Death trap. The Tucson sector says that the temperatures along the border in Arizona are something that are difficult to endure when you're making your way across the desert into Arizona from Mexico. And they said migrant deaths at the Tucson Border Patrol sector this year rose by 167% compared to last year. I mean, the administration will tell you that what they have here is that they have something that is benevolent, that they're trying to help people. You don't help people by having them traipse across the desert in 110 or 115 degree temperatures and having them die. People are dying in the desert. How is that benevolent? How is that humanitarian? Here's a story from townhall.com. It's a lengthy story. You might want to look at it at yourfarm.com. I have the link there. The act of Republican governors sending busloads of illegal immigrants to so-called sanctuary jurisdictions has been a major political success. The Democrats and their media allies have huffed and puffed about how inhumane the practice is, muttering angrily about exploiting migrants as political pawns. But so what? Their feigned fury rings hollow because they can't convincingly articulate why it's so unspeakable and awful for self-declared sanctuary cities and states to be put in a position to provide, well, sanctuary. How much is this costing cities? Well, the sanctuary city, I mean, come on. We're a sanctuary city. We're here for you. You know, our arms are open wide. Please come to us. We will hold you in our bosom, and we will provide you the things that you need because we care about you. We care about you. All you people who are weary, come home. Come home to the little sanctuary city of New York or Chicago or L.A. or half a dozen other. We will take care of you. That was the message that they put out. However, when people started showing up, boy, the tune sure changed, didn't it? New York City has forked over $35 million to a pair of nonprofits to house migrants at hotels in Manhattan and Queens, part of the $5.2 billion racked up so far to help solve the growing crisis. The city's Department of Homelessness awarded $26.4 million to the Volunteers of America to aid migrants at the Paul Hotel in Midtown, and another $9.48 million to Lutheran Social Services of Metropolitan New York City, which has been hosting migrants at a Fairfield Inn in Long Island City. Both locations designated in the city as city sanctuary facilities for families with children are among the 200 city shelters currently housing some 60,000 migrants. Oh, well. You know, if you're going to call yourself a sanctuary city, you better be ready to back it up, chum. $35 million. I can understand why they're screaming. I understand why they're hollering. But you know what? You called yourself a sanctuary city. Big picture, we've got an unmitigated disaster on our hands. And I hope I'm wrong. I don't want there to be a crisis in this country. I don't want there to be another 9/11. I don't want there to be, we honestly don't know crap about the people who've come across here that had no contact, the so-called gotaways, 1.6 million of them. Where are they? Is it somebody that has made his way to Nashville? Is it somebody, what are they doing? Where are they? Who do they answer to? I have real questions. And I pray that we are not going to have another 9/11 situation. But if we do, it's going to be all on Joe Biden and the Democrats who say, come to our sanctuary city. 20 minutes now, past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. Everseal, what is it? Well, it's a sealant for your exterior wood and concrete. The fact of the matter is, this is a technology, it's a substance that's been around for ages and has been used in industrial applications. But the folks at Everseal figured out a way to provide a permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. Now, it all starts with a deep cleaning. They come over and they clean your wood, they clean your concrete, they bring it back and make it look as new as it possibly can, and then they apply their patented sealant, which absorbs all the way through. It just doesn't lay on top of it. It actually permeates, becomes a permanent part of your wood and concrete to prevent any further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. Wow. Think about that. Just think, okay, if you have a deck and you do some sealant on your deck, you do that once a year, right? Maybe once every other year, if you're like me. But think about all the money and the time you would save and the trouble you would save if you did it one time and didn't have to think about it again for 30, 40, or 50 years. Well, that would be something, wouldn't it? Well, if this sounds interesting to you, and I can't imagine why it wouldn't, why don't you reach out to Steve Nelson and the folks at Everseal? Here's the number, 1-844-EVER-USA, 1-844-EVER-USA, or ever-seal.com.
A shooting in Clarksville. It's caused road closures. Police are investigating. They're asking public to stay inside. And also, we'll go over Wall Street, see how today's money news worked out. Those stories and more coming up 4:30 right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mac Maury, you brought us the story yesterday of a Tennessee man who received the Medal of Honor. And, that, of course, that is a somber affair and really a moment where, you need, to take it in. And, these are big dog deals when somebody is given the Medal of Honor. And this Tennessee man was absolutely deserving of it. But since then, there have been a lot of talk about what happened after he put the Medal of Honor on. There was a little bit of applause, and Joe Biden simply walked out. He just left the stage, walked through the audience, got out of there. And a lot of people saying, well, there was more to the ceremony. There was a benediction. There was all this other stuff. And he just abandoned, just walked out. It seemed odd. And today, Karine Jean-Pierre tried to make the case that, no, honestly, I'm not making this up. It was always planned for him to do that because we're concerned about COVID and he didn't have a mask.
And he left as planned, as it was planned. He left when there was a pause in the program in order to minimize to minimize his close contact with attendees who are about to participate in a reception. And as you all reported that, noticed that he left when there was a pause in the program because, again, he wanted to minimize certainly his impact on folks who were there.
I mean, come on. That's a bunch of... Nobody's buying that argument. He always does this at the end of an event. He will just wander off like, where am I supposed to go? Somebody point me in the right direction. Kayleigh McEnany knows a thing or two as a former press secretary to Donald Trump. She knows a little bit about it. And on Fox, she was talking about, said, I've never seen anybody ever do something like that.
I've never seen my former boss do that, President Trump. I've never seen President Bush do that. I've just not seen a commander-in-chief do that. Just walk away. You stand in reverence. So those speculating he wanted to see the spotlight, I'm sorry, I just don't buy it.
You know what? He wanted to see the spotlight. That was one of the other things that they put out there. No, he was not trying to see the spotlight. He just didn't know what to do. He thought it was over. And he just left, leaving a lot of people, including the recipient of the Medal of Honor, with his mouth hanging open, going, what do we do now?
Brian, apparently today, I guess this video was from today, he walks into the room to the podium and with no mask on, and then realizes, I was supposed to have this mask on, and then addresses the fact that he was supposed to be wearing the mask but didn't.
Yeah. I mean, they're really, they say they're concerned about COVID-19. First Lady apparently had a positive test, and he was in close proximity. No signs that he's got it, and he, so I don't know what to tell you about that. But they're starting to freak out at the White House like they did the last time about COVID-19. But I can assure you that that this was just Joe Biden being the lost little puppy that he is. He truly doesn't have any idea about what's going on around him. He's lost. He doesn't have a good grasp on events that are occurring in the world around him. And this is our leader of the free world. This is a man who has his finger on the nuclear trigger. He's the man who is supposed to be responsible to keep Americans safe, and he can't even keep the rundown of a simple ceremony on his mind. He screws it up every single freaking time. I'm angry today. I don't know why I'm so angry. Maybe somebody said to me the other day, how do you do this stuff day in and day out without losing your mind? I said, because it makes me mad, and this makes me really mad. Here is someone who put their life on their line to save fellow soldiers. As a helicopter pilot, it's a dramatic story. Went in when it really should not have gone in, and got soldiers out, brought them to safety, and is now being awarded the highest honor American can have. And this guy puts the thing on and cuts out. You can tell that Karine is lying when she starts to stutter and stumble.
And he left as planned, as it was planned. He left when there was a pause in the program in order to minimize his close contact with attendees who are about to participate in a reception. And as you all reported that, noticed that he left when there was a pause in the program because, again, he wanted to minimize certainly his impact on folks who were there.
And if you believe that, I got a bridge I'd like to sell you. 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
.431, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 84 degrees right now in Nashville. We got a full weather forecast. Latest traffic report on the way. 5 minutes. Breaking from News 2, Clarksville residents have been asked to stay indoors. Police are investigating a shooting that happened around 3:15 today. The intersection of Wilma Rudolph Boulevard and Holiday Drive is completely closed. Officials are still investigating. A perimeter has been set up. Police have asked for anyone to report suspicious activity if they see any. And staying in Tennessee, Metro Police looking into an alleged hit and run that happened this morning. It was near B&A. A man was found injured on Donaldson Pike right around 7 a.m. and was taken to Vanderbilt Medical Center with serious injuries. The exit ramp was closed for some time, but opened at 10:30. And now over to the money news. Daria Albinger walks us through Wall Street today.
Stocks continue their September slide. The Dow fell 199 points. The Nasdaq gave up 148, and the S&P closed down 31. Declines by several big tech companies, including Apple, weighed on the market. WeWork says it will renegotiate nearly all of its leases as the workplace gathering provider does all it can to stay in business. The company's interim CEO says it also expects to close underperforming locations. Most major car brands admit they're selling your personal data, and half say they'd share it with the government or law enforcement without a court order. The nonprofit Mozilla Foundation says nearly 25 of the most popular brands say they gave drivers little or no control over the data they collect. 8 days and counting to a possible United Auto Workers strike. The union says it's still a ways from an agreement with any of the big three and could walk the picket line by the 14th.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather up next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair, and it is that time on a Wednesday when we're lucky. We get to talk to Pete Hegseth. He's a star in the Fox constellation. I mean, not only is he the host of Fox and Friends Weekend, you see him everywhere, filling in for everybody. Every time I look up, Pete, it seems like I see you on my screen.
Well, very kind of you, Brian. I'm just a humble morning show host, weekend morning show host. I do what I can.
I always lead these conversations with by tossing up topics and I can do that today if you want me to. But sometimes I'd like to know, what are the things that you're concerned about? You look at what's going on in the world around you, and there's a lot of things that one can sort of focus on. What gets Pete Hegseth a little worried when he picks up his phone, starts looking through what's going on in the world around him?
It's a great question, Brian. Honestly, my honest answer to you right now is the things that concern me the most, which I think are the things that can affect people the most, are my own kids and my own family. I mean that. Yeah. I don't mean that as a dodge. I mean that as there are so many things in the world right now I cannot affect that are so absurd, so backwards, so draconian, so upside down that in those moments, I think like a lot of people, sure, I'm paying attention and I've got a take on it. But I'd look around at my own house and say, am I keeping that in order? Like, are my kids learning good things? Are they learning to know and love God? Are they, am I forming up young men and young girls? Like that, I think what we have to do, because right now we're in a really bad spot. And we don't get out of it unless we pass it to the next generation. So otherwise, I think where to start? You stumped me on that one. I think the state of what's happening with Joe Biden and his absolute sheer incapability is something that still boggles the mind, that they're just plowing forward. I saw the news item that they're going to run an ad on the first Thursday night game, big Joe Biden Build Back Better ad. It seems they really are charging ahead, and he doesn't know what events he's at. And are we really going to do this charade of COVID again? And is it going to be tied to 2024? I have a lot of concerns about how they're going to ramp up COVID fears in front of 24. There's a primary going on. Donald Trump's going to win it. That's not the biggest concern. It's what else will they do stacked against that? And then, of course, what else could go wrong around the world with Joe Biden?
Well, I mean, we got Ukraine, which is I know a great concern for you. We got the border story that just blew me away today. Is that 75,000 people that have come in contact with law enforcement on the border, 75,000 of them have potential terrorist connections. But then the next story that I read about the border is that there are 1.6 million people who cross the border as gotaways. We never had any contact with them. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they went. We don't know what they're up to. But these are the people that tried, some of these people coming across the border, they want to come in contact with law enforcement. These are the people that run. And when you run, what does that tell you? Well, you got something to hide. And we're talking about 1.6 million of them.
I don't even know how to put my arms around that. And then you see cities like New York City and Chicago freaking out because they've got 10,000 and they don't know what to do with them. The first thing my mind goes to, I was just before I called you, I was sitting down because my son, for Patriots Day on September 11th, had to interview someone that was alive on September 11th, and where were they and what happened. And I'm trying to translate to him the fear, the frustration, the anger, the uncertainty, all of those things. And here we are, 23 years later, and we're letting 75,000 pinged potential known terrorists walk into our nation. We have no idea who they are. We know they're not just people from Mexico looking for a better life. They're from all around the globe, all around the country, in the shadows. And the goal of the left, by the way, is to make them all legal as fast as possible. You see these work permits they want in these cities. It's all a pathway to permanent citizenship or permanent status that could lead to – that's going to be the Dreamer 9.0 we're staring down the barrel of. Where are these people going to school? Where are they sending their kids? Where are they working? Where are they driving down wages for Americans who should be protected? Every member of Congress in the House, I mean, I just heard Chip Roy talking about this. This should be defund Mayorkas' salary and fight like hell because we have lost our country because we don't know who's in it.
Yeah, we don't know who's in it. And if you're an intelligence service or for another country, wouldn't you take advantage of the chaos on the border to send people in under the cover of this chaos so they could evaporate and hide in America until they're needed? I mean, is that just too conspiratorial of me?
No, it's not. And especially while our FBI is focused on prosecuting Proud Boys who weren't even there on January 6th, or people who walked into the Capitol because the door was open, and or people who protest outside of abortion clinics, or parents at school board meetings. So we've got the apparatus of Washington coming down on the perceived political opponents, not to mention the amount of time being spent on Donald Trump and everyone else around him. And you think we're spending enough time vetting it? We're not even vetting them. We're not even asking. We have no idea. So if you're an intelligence service elsewhere, you've got sleepers all over the place, and that's not conspiratorial. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope nothing's happened. But my goodness, how can you not come to that conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, we'll stop here in a few days, about 5 more days, and we'll stop and remember what happened on September 11th. And yet, it seems like we have opened the door for something, I hope it never happens. I mean, gosh, who wants that to happen? I lived through it. I don't want to go through that again. But, we are making ourselves very susceptible to another kind of 9/11 type attack, because we don't know who these people are, and there's 1.6 million of them. Do you think they're all upstanding, upright citizens? I decidedly do not.
No, I decidedly do not either. And we know that to be the case. And I mean, think about. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past the communist Chinese, right? I mean, why wouldn't you put people in after what they've been doing to us? It seems too obvious, and yet our Border Patrol agents are facilitating illegality. They're being forced to not do their job.
Yeah, I know. So 2024, you believe that the way it's all shaping up, that it will be Trump versus Biden?
Yeah, I do. I know there's a lot of people that think Biden will bow out, but I heard someone say this. I can't take credit for it, but 2020 was the basement strategy, and 2024 is going to be the beach strategy or the vacation strategy. Just keep him away, hope that Trump hatred is high enough, hope that the indictments lead to criminal charges, hope that you can put your opponent in prison, hope that his polls crater as a result, hope you get him off the ballot within the 14th Amendment in some states. And the people around Biden are the ones complicit in this. They want the power. They want to be in the White House. They want to be talking to reporters and relevant in Washington, D.C. You just don't let go of power like that right now. And you've got the investigations. I mean, I feel like they think being in the White House is the best protection the Bidens have rather than being out.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that Biden will not be the nominee, but I can't tell you what the scenario is.
I don't disagree, but I just don't see it. Like, I don't. Yeah. Is he one day going to walk out and be like, you know what? Yep, you were right. I really was too old. And I mean, it's got to be an event. It's got to be something on TV that's undeniable, that everyone sees, where they can't spin a story where everyone says enough. And again, I hope that doesn't happen. I don't wish ill health on anybody. But
I think I heard somebody say if there had been I heard somebody say that if there had been a Mitch McConnell moment with Biden, it'd be over.
Might be, but look what they're doing with Mitch McConnell. He says he's going to fill out his term. He said it today. He said, I'm going to be the majority leader till my term is over in 2026. I mean, that's 3 more years with that guy. They just don't give up. They don't quit.
No, they don't. And that's our own fault. I mean, everybody says, well, you need to have, term limits. And I never have understood that. I mean, term limits, maybe a good concept, but to some people's mind, but it seems to me you have that ability anytime you hold an election. If you're not pleased, you get rid of that person.
Problem with term limit, I like term limits. Problem with term limits is if you don't term limit bureaucrats and staffers, then they just run the show. Yeah, so it's got to be something you do across the board.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's one I haven't thought about, because the deep state. I used to laugh when people talk about the deep state. But I don't anymore. It's real. It's absolutely real. And they never go away. They just burrow in. You never know, where they are or who they're loyal to. But we're seeing a lot of that in the Department of Justice, the FBI and other places, where there are just these people who have, had liberal leanings all their lives. I don't know. Maybe they went in during the Obama years and they're just buried in there. You have no idea when they're going to pop up and have an impact.
you're over the target, Brian. It started on hyperspeed in the Obama years. What we've missed too often is that this is the Obama third term. He never left Washington, D.C. Most of the powerful people in that White House are his. He knows you still have Biden sort of totally beholden for the fact that he's the president to Obama. All the staffers are there. The fundamental transition has to continue in their view, and Obama's at the helm of that. And the Defense Department's a great example of that. What they've done to that department in just 2 decades, a decade and a half, is staggering. And it's a result of putting people with ideologies in leadership positions and letting them do their work, just burrow.
Do you think that Comer and Jordan and all the folks in the House with this impeachment inquiry, are they going to be able to get at this thing?
They better go. I guess McCarthy's got problems with moderates, but figure it out and go, because David Weiss being put in as a special counsel was an attempt to cover up, to delay and continue the investigation. You need all the bank records, all the testimonies, all the subpoena. And I think one thing I do like is go through, have a House vote. Unlike Nancy Pelosi, never held a vote on the Ukrainian phone call, and they never held a vote on January 6th. They just snapped. And so those never stuck because they were always seen as totally partisan exercises.
Right.
Hold the vote, go through the process, dig it all up, show it to the American people, and the press will still try to ignore it. But if you've got, I've heard there are tapes. I know you've heard that, that this Ukrainian businessman has them. Find those, get them out if they exist. Let's find out whether our president truly is compromised in foreign nations and therefore incapable to protect the American people.
Well, Pete, I could go another half hour with you, but our time is up, and I want to say how much I do appreciate you joining us on Wednesdays when you're available.
I enjoy it. Thank
you,
Brian.
my friend. Talk to you soon. Bye. That's Pete Hegseth with the Fox News, does the weekend Fox and Friends, and also when he's not there, he's a resident right here in Middle Tennessee, and we love having him here. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have 2 people here. They're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing, education, and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
The president's son could soon face an indictment. Laverne back in the headlines for sexual harassment amongst city officials. A man survives a shot to the head in Tennessee. And the Rolling Stones, they're back. Those stories and more coming up 5 o'clock right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, listen to this.
Hey, BNA, this is Kristen Chenoweth.
That's Kristen Chenoweth, the Broadway actress, 4'11". She's a real staple in Broadway shows and, a great singer and a great talent. I don't deny that. She is also now the official voice of BNA, our airport.
Hey, BNA, this is Kristen Chenoweth, reminding you if you see any unattended items to report them to the nearest BNA badged employee or call the airport emergency number at 615-275-1703. Don't forget to keep all your items within reach. Thank you for doing your part to keep BNA safe.
Well, okay. I mean, that honestly, as much as I like Kristen Chenoweth and I think she's lovely, is this the voice we want representing Nashville?
Yeah, she's not from Nashville. Right?
She's from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I just looked it up. And you know, what about Trace Atkins?
Ooh, that'd be good.
Wouldn't that be great? Or what about, get Dolly Parton to do it, and then you'd have something.
That's an obvious choice,
and she would do it. She would do it in a heartbeat. I know she would. I don't know. As much as I love BNA, and I love the fact that the CEO, they're a big fan of the show, Doug Crulin, we have him on from time to time. I'm not a big fan of this decision. But get ready.
Hey, BNA, this is Kristen Chenoweth.
It is 58 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing, so you'll know how much it costs before the care is delivered. Smart Care plans, just $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And because we treat the whole family, even newborns, they can offer family plans as well. You marry that with a high-deductible insurance plan, could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. They take their time with each patient. They see you the same day or the next day. There are no long wait times to crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast in Music City year after year after year. And Grace Point wants you to know that they can help you with your seasonal allergies so you can get back to the great outdoors. Grace Point Healthcare, Main Street in Franklin, 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Currently 89 degrees, getting a little hotter as we get in later into the afternoon into this evening. Some possible showers and thunderstorms later on tonight. And a clear week ahead. Complete weather forecast, the latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. First, he had a plea deal to avoid prison, but now it appears the president's son, Hunter Biden, could face charges and a trial. Andy Field with the latest.
Special counsel David Weiss filing documents saying he intends to indict Hunter Biden by the end of this month. President's son's attorney filing his own status report with the court saying that Hunter Biden had a signed gun diversion charge agreement by that same prosecutor, but a U.S. attorney saying a probation officer never signed it. The entire Hunter Biden gun and tax plea deal fell apart this summer when a judge questioned some of the provisions.
And right now in Laverne News 2 says that the city's code director has been fired after allegations of sexual harassment. 2 women have claimed that Randolph Salyers sexually harassed them and made, quote, unwanted physical contact and verbally suggestive remarks. People have now come forward as witnesses to these allegations. Salyers was first placed on administrative leave on August 21st and then fired yesterday. And this comes after the Laverne Police Department sex scandal where multiple officers, including the police chief, were fired about 7 months ago. And in the nation's capital, labor again the focus for President Biden today at the White House. Karen Travers.
President Biden today welcomed to the White House the leaders of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union and the Pacific Maritime Association to congratulate them on the new contract they reached. It gives dock workers increased pay and improved benefits.
It's a good deal for workers, it's a good deal for companies, and it's a good deal for the United States of America.
The contract applies to 22,000 workers at 29 ports along the West Coast.
This contract proves that collective bargaining works. It gives workers a seat at the table and ensures that their well-being, security, and futures are a priority.
Crime right now in Tennessee. 53-year-old Stephen Crosby is now in custody after being charged with the murder of his girlfriend, 41-year-old Brooke Howard. Howard's body was found inside of her Madison apartment yesterday. Footage shows Cosby is the only person who entered the apartment and shows him leaving with a large plastic bag. And the bag was found in a dumpster in the complex with bloody clothes inside. Cosby's a felon who's been in jail multiple times for domestic violence against Howard. In some entertainment news, the Rolling Stones have dropped the first single from their upcoming album and some new info about the project. Jason Nathanson.
The first single from the new Rolling Stones album in 18 years is called Angry.
Don't get angry with me.
At a launch event Wednesday for the new album, the band revealed the title will be Hackney Diamonds. And frontman Mick Jagger said it has an eclectic mix of songs.
I have a few love songs and ballads and country kind of things.
The Stones' late drummer Charlie Watts appears on 2 tracks, which were recorded in 2019, and original Stones bassist Bill Wyman guests on the record, as does Lady Gaga. Hackney Diamonds is out October 20th.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. And this is the drive for September 6th. It's a Wednesday, but it feels like a Tuesday. I don't know why, it just does. We're so glad you're with us. This next segment, I don't often read stories in their completeness, but I think you really, as if you're a parent and you got kids in school, I think you need to understand that there are people out there who want to convert your kids into something that they may not be. And they're out there lurking and they're laughing and as if they're pulling one off on people. And I'm just going to have to read this story because it's based on an actual tape of teachers talking about how they recruit young people to join gay and lesbian clubs at the school. And it's really it's a little eyebrow raising and a little concerning, but you need to know what's going on. So let me just go through this and plow through this as much as I possibly can. You can find a copy of this at yourfarb.com, UFARB.com. And of course, you can find the link to Your Farb by going to 997WTN.com. I'm contractually obligated to say. Okay, here we go. A leaked audio recording reveals two teachers at a recent California Teachers Association conference mocking parents over their concerns about homosexual and transgender indoctrination at school, says a source who attended the event at Palm Springs. The recording obtained by the Epic Times captured two seventh-grade teachers employed by Buena Vista Middle School in Salinas, California, telling other teachers from all over the country, by the way, how to recruit students into LGBT clubs known as the Gay Straight Alliance. Okay. It was horrifying to listen not to just one of the teachers, but really all of the teachers in these seminars excoriating parents, said the source who goes by the pseudonym Rebecca Murphy. Murphy attended the Teachers Union conference in late October. She told the Epic Times the teachers mocked parents for their concerns and suggested they know better than parents about what's best for the children. They laughed at the parents. The sold-out CTA conference, billed as 2021 LGBTQ plus issues conference, Beyond the Binary, Identifying and Imagining Possibilities, was held October 29th through the 31st. The CTA hosted a similar sexual orientator and gender identity professional development training for the past 2 years. According to the event notice posted on the United Teachers of Los Angeles website, which asked teachers, do you have the courage to create a safe environment that fosters bravery to explore sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression? However, according to Murphy, the conference in Palm Springs appeared to include teachers showing other teachers how to undermine the authority of parents and school administrators and to conceal activities related to gender inclusion and sexual orientation from them. Teachers at the conference also suggested that parents who refuse to call their child by pronouns of the child's choosing should be arrested and charged with child abuse. You ready? 3 classes that Murphy attended were designed to recruit middle school students to GSA clubs. The overarching theme of the classes that I attended were California teachers instructing other teachers how to sneak in LGBTQ plus curriculum in a manner that does not alert the parents. They're knowingly doing this, and they're trying to go around the interest of the parents by hopefully not alerting them. The 2 teachers from Buena Vista led a workshop called How We Run a GSA in a Conservative Community. And they described the obstacles they faced as activist teachers in concealing activities of these clubs from parents. In one audio clip, one teacher advised other teachers who lead LGBTQ clubs to maintain an air of plausibility, plausible deniability, so they can play dumb if they're questioned by parents. Because we are not official, we have no club roster, we keep no records. In fact, sometimes we really don't want to keep records because if parents get upset that their kids are coming, we go like, yeah, I don't know, maybe they came, you know. You would never want a kid to get into trouble for attending if their parents are upset. The other teacher backed up the first teacher, suggesting activist teachers disguise the nature of GSA clubs by calling them something less obvious. She provided an example of this deception, pointing out how she avoided naming her LGBT club a GSA. Instead, she called it the Equity Club and later changed the name to UBU Club. The teachers bragged about listen to this. The teachers bragged about spying on students' online searches and activity, as well as eavesdropping on their conversations to identify and recruit sixth grade students into these LGBT clubs whose membership rolls were kept hidden from parents. We totally stalked what they were doing on Google, one teacher said. Buena Vista Middle School falls under the jurisdiction of the Spreckles Union School District. Another nearby district, Salinas, has been a center of controversy over its mandatory ninth grade ethnic studies program. Okay. The teachers also discussed a yearly anti-bullying presentation they provided to students and said that LGBT issues were not the only topics they discussed. We covered religious differences, race, cultural backgrounds, family status, poverty, everything that's listed in the Parents' Right Handbook, said one teacher. However, when the kids came home and talked to their parents about the presentation, the parents complained about the LGBT content. One of the teachers suggested a different strategy to avoid resistance from the parents. Next year, we're going to do a little mind trick on our sixth graders. Can you believe the dialogue here? Can you believe this? They were the last to go through this presentation, and gender stuff was the last thing we talked about. So next year, we're going to be first with the presentation, and the gender stuff will be the final thing, or be the first thing they hear about, hopefully to mitigate, these kinds of responses. Listen to this. One of the teachers also spoke about how she controls morning announcements at the school. That's another type of strategy I can give you. I'm the one who controls the messaging. Everybody says, oh, you're so sweet, you volunteered to do that. Of course I'm so sweet that I volunteered to do that, because then I control the information that goes out. And for the first time this year, students have been allowed to openly put LGBT content into our morning announcement slides. She went on to boast that the students she recruited to help with the announcement, these 3 kids on our team, 2 of them are non-binary. The other one's just very fluid in every way. She's fabulous, so it's actually a very nice group. The teacher pointed out that more than once that she can't be fired, and she thanks CTA for her tenure and for providing resource tools. You can't fire me for running a GSA. You can be mad, but you can't fire me. CTA has made it very clear you're devoted to human rights and equity. She told the teachers that she and other teachers have acted with great integrity. We never crossed a line. Are you kidding me? Have you been listening to this story? You never crossed a line. You're spying on the kids' Google searches. You're doing things to keep it from the parents, and you've never crossed a line? We have wanted to, they said, but we never have. No, maybe from your perspective, but nobody else's. So this is the kind of things that are going on inside schools that you, as parents, probably don't know anything about. And furthermore, if your kids are involved, okay, and maybe you're fine with it. Okay, that's great. Knock yourself out. But a lot of parents would not be okay with it. And a lot of parents would want to know what their kids are doing with their spare time and what kind of things they're involved in. And they don't want to be cut out of the process. And it seems that the whole goal of this whole training session, find ways to hide this from the parents, to keep this away from the parents so they don't have any knowledge about what's going on. Because they know better than you, they think. We're enlightened. The parents are, they're such idiots. They don't know anything. Then this story quickly. Security cameras will be installed in Effingham County, Georgia elementary schools next spring, with every classroom being covered according to local media reports. The local school board is spending $2 million fitting cameras in high school classrooms, with middle schools expected to follow shortly. Now, Superintendent Yancey Ford claimed the move is one of a number of new safety initiatives being introduced, which will be an opportunity to highlight exemplary teachers. However, not everybody looks at it that way. They say that the legislation was introduced by Republicans in Iowa and Florida, calling for video cameras to be installed in classrooms across the state. This was so that it could increase the role of parents. And critics fought it, suggesting that the move was intended to spy on teachers and monitor what they teach. Well, why would we need to do that? By the way, public place, paid for with taxpayer dollars, shut up. If we want to put a camera in that classroom to find out what's going on in that classroom, I'm telling you, I would have been very much in favor of this when my kid was in elementary and middle school, high school. I'd like to know what's going on in some of those classes. I'd like to know, what happened. I remember when I was a kid, I came home one day, and I had one teacher who had said in the classroom, in Texas, by the way, West Texas, that communism in its purest form was not a necessarily bad form of government. That was her premise. And I came home and spouted that off at the dinner table, and my mom's jaw just about hit the table. There was a conference. There were things that were discussed. And you know what? That's what we need. We need parents to be involved. We need kids talking about their day. We need to know what's going on. And we need to understand that there are some of these teachers, they're acting almost as if they are predators. They're being predatory. Oh, there's a good gay person. Let's bring that person into the fold. It's not your job. It's not your job to do that. It's your job to teach the kids the life lessons and the information that they need to go out into the world or go on to the next level. Teach them the math, teach them the English, teach them the science. But for God's sakes, it's not your responsibility to worry about their gender identity. Again, if you think I'm making this up, just go to yourfarm.com and read this article. Parents, be aware. This element is out there in the education circles. They're looking to take your children and introduce them to things that you probably don't want them introduced to or may not want them introduced to. If you do, it's fine. Okay, knock yourself out. But as a parent, I would want to say to these teachers, okay, I get it. You're gay. That's fine. Knock yourself out. I don't have any problem with you being gay. But it's not your responsibility to look out for my child's gender identity or to try to transform them into a gender identity that they had not even previously considered, because they'll be brought into some kind of club where they'll be love bombed and told that, you need to be one of us. Why mess around with a kid at that age? Parents, pay attention. 20 minutes now, past the hour of 5 o'clock. You have a desire to add some gold or silver to your portfolio? Well, listen up. It's Brian Wilson for Nashville Gold and Coin. And if you're looking for real, actual, hold it in your hand, gold, silver, or bullion, let me tell you, this is the place I do business. It's a place I recommend. You get honest, friendly customer service and a real precious metals education. They also specialize in the buying, selling, and appraising of coins. Do you have any idea how much some of those old coins you have laying around might be worth? I brought in a few silver coins I had in a shoebox. It was in my sock drawer, and it turned out to be worth $1,652. Whether you're in the market to purchase precious metals or just want to find out what those coins in your closet might be worth, schedule a one-on-one consultation today. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
A shooting in Clarksville being investigated, road closures to go along with that, and some possible effects coming to the States when it comes to your favorite social media apps. I'll have those stories and more at 5:30 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Mac Morey in the newsroom, and there's Chris Weber in the control room, and I am your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson. And this is a show that believes, well, that if you look hard enough, we may find one day that the truth is out there. That's right. And you know who agrees with us about that? In a million years, unless you happen to have stumbled across it on the internet, you would never guess who believes that the truth is out there.
Who?
Okay.
Let's say he's a quarterback.
Oh, wow.
That narrows it down.
Yep. A rather odd personality at times.
Oh, I'm getting it now.
Ooh, okay.
Recently, changed teams.
I think I know.
We're talking about Aaron Rodgers, of course.
Yeah.
And he apparently the folks have been following him around. HBO's Hard Knocks, they do documentaries on an entire season, and they follow certain players around. And so apparently they are chasing Aaron Rodgers. I don't watch the show. I don't know anything about the show. Sounds like a good show.
It is.
But they have apparently gotten him to speak about something that I don't think I've ever heard him speak about before. And it is that he had a UFO encounter.
Really?
A close encounter of the second kind, I think you would call that. And here is the clip that the folks at HBO has put out. This is unbelievable. Here we go, about 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
We had this great dinner at his house in Jersey. I was making my way to bed, and I had like a 5 a.m. wake up. And I was getting down to bed. I heard this alarm in the distance going off. It just didn't seem like normal when I heard some rustling downstairs. So I got up, walked downstairs. It was a beautiful night. And Steve and his brother and I walked outside, and up in the clouds, we heard this sound, and we saw this tremendously large object moving through the sky. And it was like a scene out of Independence Day when the ships are coming into the atmosphere, and they're creating this kind of explosion type fire in the sky.
Oh my!
We just saw this incredibly large object and froze, as anybody would, because what the hell was going on. And eventually it went out of sight, and nobody said a word. We just stood frozen, the three of us, on the front stoop of Steve's house. And about 30 seconds later, we heard the real recognizable sound of fighter jets going shoo, 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 shoo. That seemed to be chasing this object. And again, we just stood there in just disbelief for another few minutes. Nobody said a word. And then we all kind of looked at each other like, did we just see what we think we just saw? What was that? Eventually, 20 minutes later, we kind of wound down a little bit and went back to bed. And then you're still not really sleeping because you just experienced this bizarre experience. We looked in the papers and online the next few days, and there was nothing about it. That got me into researching more about UFOs. The siren or alarm had been from a nuclear power plant, which is about 9 miles away. And if you know anything about UFOs, there's a lot of sightings around nuclear energy, around volcanoes, around power plants. But yeah, Steve and I, great friends, teammates, and also witnessed whatever the hell it was. I don't know, but it was definitely unidentified. It was definitely flying. It was definitely a large object.
Wow. Aaron Rodgers. They're talking about his close encounter. Now, Aaron has has been rather experimental at times, hasn't he? Is that a way,
he's a free spirit.
That's an interesting word. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this was before or after the ayahuasca retreat that he saw the UFO.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Look, the thing about it is, if you saw it, you have to question, okay, is this a dream?
Mm-hmm.
Is this some kind of, flashback from things I did earlier? I don't know. But when you have 3 or 4 people with you and you all see the same thing, Ken Weaver tells the story about being at the Red Rocks Theater for a concert in New Mexico and having witnessed that. And he said everyone in the crowd saw it.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
As much as I would love to have that experience, just, because I would just love to, to have that experience, see something that I can't explain. I've never, ever had anything like that. I mean, I'm constantly looking at the sky at night, hoping that I'll see something unusual.
That's why you've never seen anything, because you're looking for it.
I'm looking for it. You have to be, it has to be something that springs a surprise on you. But I don't know. He seems sincere, doesn't he?
He does. It's more than I've ever heard him talk about football. So it's interesting.
All right, there you go. It's 5:30 now on Super Talk 99.7.
It's 31 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here with your top stories. 88 degrees currently in Nashville. Some possible thunderstorms coming up later tonight, but clear skies the rest of this week. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, we're still monitoring a situation in Clarksville after a shooting was reported by News 2 just after 3:30 today. It was near the intersection of Wilma Rudolph Boulevard and Holiday Drive. People in the Single Tree subdivision have been asked to stay indoors and report any suspicious activity if they see anyone. They've been asked to call 911. And there have been some road closures there again, Wilma Rudolph Boulevard and Holiday Drive, the surrounding areas still closed. Crime in Tennessee. Channel 4 says that a woman was being strangled and in self-defense shot the man that was strangling her in the head. It was in the Old Hickory area in Nashville at a duplex. That man survived the shooting and talked to officers on the scene. Both the man and the woman were taken to the hospital. And the European Commission is taking aim at 22 major technology services ranging from social media apps like TikTok, operating systems like Windows, browsers like Chrome and Safari, and even your video platforms that you use like YouTube and messaging services like WhatsApp. And Mike Dubusky says it could have implications right here on our shores.
The commission says Amazon, Alphabet, Apple, Microsoft, Meta, and ByteDance all run afoul of the Digital Markets Act, Europe's package of legislation designed to curb the market power of big tech. The firms have 6 months to comply, and Dartmouth engineering professor Jeff Parker says changes abroad could make it easier for the U.S. to regulate changes.
Because they're complying in one region, so it's possible to do in another. So that sort of argument, that would be an impossible thing technologically, that doesn't carry water.
And this just in from Channel 4 when it regards to that Clarksville shooting near Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Police located the suspect's vehicle. It was abandoned on Balling Lane. That was about 3:37. And that suspect remains at large, and there is one victim injured. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. We got all kinds of stuff going on here today, trying to keep you abreast of the very latest developments. I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to be Debbie Downer here. I don't want to be, what's the name? Dougie Downer. Trying to think of a good male name. Can you think of another one?
Well, I was going to say Danny Downer, but
Danny
I
Downer,
didn't want to put Dan Mandis too close to that.
No.
A negative Nancy.
No, but I mean, I'm trying to look for a male because remember the character on Saturday Night Live, Debbie Downer. Everything was just horrible, and say, I always talk like this, and I don't want to be that. That's right. I don't want to be that guy. I really don't want to be that guy. But I mean, I would rather know that we're about to go into a crisis and prepare for it than to put my head in the sand and ignore it. Right. And I am not an expert in economics. I'll be the first to tell you, because that would require math, and I can't do math. But I mean, I do see trends, and there are trends out there that very much concern me. One of them is one we haven't talked about, and that is, and we should think about that in Nashville. I mean, you look downtown, and what do you see? You see buildings going up. You see the building cranes everywhere. The national bird of Nashville is the building crane, and they're continuing to build. And you know what? They're going to have a hard time filling all of these buildings because they're going to be a lot of changes have taken place post pandemic. I mean, for one thing, there are a lot of people who don't work downtown anymore. They work at their home. I mean, I can't tell you the number of friends I have who work, at least 2 or 3 days at home. And it's just, it's a trend now. And you got all of this commercial real estate that was developed for office space, and now there's nobody to fill the offices. The commercial real estate market, according to the Wall Street Journal, is now in meltdown. Those trillions of dollars in loans and investments are a looming threat for the banking industry and potentially the broader economy. Banks' exposure is even bigger than commonly reported. Banks are in danger of setting off a doom loop scenario where losses on the loans trigger banks to cut lending, which leads to further drops in property prices and yet more losses. You get into a death spiral, or as they call it, a doom loop. This story is about 18 pages long, and I'm not going to have the ability to go through all of it, but I do want to share a couple of interesting notes that it has here. I read it, so you don't have to. Banks are under pressure to pay depositors more to keep customers from fleeing to higher-yielding investment alternatives. Without cheap deposits, banks have less money to lend and absorb losses from loans that go bad. Depositors withdrew funds from many small and regional lenders earlier this year after the collapse of 3 mid-sized banks stoked fears of a system-wide crisis. The doom loop scenario is starting to play out in big cities where office vacancies have soared. Real estate investors that are unable to refinance their debt can only go and do it at high rates, and they're defaulting. The lenders, no longer getting the debt payment, have to write down the value of those mortgages. Sometimes the bank ends up owning the property. What's going to happen when all of these banks start to fail because they have property that they financed that now the people who built those buildings can't fill them? They're going to default on the loan because they cannot repay it if they can't fill the building. And then the bank is sitting there holding the bag, and what it owns is a property that is losing value because nobody wants it. Wow. I mean, does that not scare you? Remember when we had the housing crisis and banks, gave too many people loans for homes that they could not keep up? Well, now what we have here is, through no fault of their own, I mean, they honestly thought pre-pandemic, this is a good investment. We're going to build some buildings. We're going to fill them up. We're going to be in the process, in the business of building tall skyscrapers. because there's a demand and, the economy is burgeoning. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And all of a sudden people are no longer going downtown to work. So, this seems like a cautionary tale for Nashville, doesn't it? It does to me. Because we got a lot of buildings downtown, and some of them are still being built. And I don't know. I think maybe some people have even gotten to the idea of saying, we built this superstructure for this building to be an office building. Maybe we should turn it into an apartment building. There actually has had that happen a couple of times. Other things going on. Americans are whipping out the plastic when they can't make ends meet, and that's going on right now. From the New York Post, credit card and car loan defaults hit 10-year high as inflation squeezes families. Inflation-squeezed Americans are defaulting on their credit card and auto loans at levels not seen since the financial crisis, and the struggle to pay their bills is poised to get worse as interest rates rise and the moratorium on student loans expires. Low and middle income earners have been especially hit hard by soaring prices on everything from rent, groceries, new and used cars, despite the Federal Reserve's attempt to tamp down stubbornly high inflation. This year, credit card delinquencies hit 3.8%. 3.6% of those have defaulted on their car loans, according to credit agency Equifax. Both of those figures are the highest that they have been in more than 10 years. The increase in delinquency and defaults is symptomatic of the tough decision that these households are having to make right now, whether to pay their credit card bills or to pay their rent or to buy groceries, said Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics, talking to the Washington Post. Think about this for just a moment. Banks may be in trouble because they have made too many loans for skyscrapers, etc., the big banks. They may be in trouble. You're trying to make ends meet out there right now, and you're in your own sort of special little doom loop. I mean, think about it. You maybe you got a little bit of raise, but it's not keeping up with the rate of inflation. Things are costing you more. And then, okay, so you have to make a choice between, as people do. I mean, this is a tough choice. You have to put food on the table or clothes on your back or a roof over your head, or you just don't have enough money to make all that happen. What do? You whip out the credit card, and now Americans are holding record credit card debt, $1 trillion of it. $1 trillion. I mean, the folks over at J.P. Morgan say, hey, we've been making money on this, but, I'm worried about it. Debt is rising. American consumers who were once flush with pandemic stimulus cash have now started to have problems paying their credit card bills. In August, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York annual report on the finances of American households showed that U.S. credit card balances breached $1 trillion for the first time in the second quarter of the year. That's 16% higher than it was last year. Don't want to throw a lot of numbers at you, but people have too much debt right now. And because inflation is the problem that we're trying to solve, the way you solve that is by increasing interest rates on loans. That's a credit card. And you could be paying 24% on the money that you have on your credit cards. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. You've got to solve that problem. And you'd say, well, you know what? They're raising interest rates to kill inflation, and once inflation's under control, they can start to bring those interest rates down. We'll just wait it out. You know what? I don't think inflation is going away anytime soon. Let's talk about that for a moment, okay? What causes a greater problem in the inflation world than any other thing that can happen? I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is high energy cost. Oil, gas, if they go up, then you're going to pay more for that, and then you're going to pay more for everything else that you buy, because it takes gas and oil and diesel to get your goods to market. The goods that you buy are going to cost you more because it costs more to get them there. We saw this before, didn't we? It's what caused 9.1% inflation. Well, right now, we've got a situation where we can't take any more oil out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The Saudis and the Russians have cut back on the oil they're putting onto the market, and that means there's not going to be less of it. And the price of a barrel of oil is once again knocking on the door of $90 a barrel. $90 a barrel today for Brent crude, $87 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate. That translates into the higher cost for gasoline, higher cost for diesel, higher cost for filling up your tank, and higher cost for everything you buy at the grocery store, because they're not going to absorb that cost. They're going to pass it on to you. And so, though they have had some impact on mortgage rates, on inflation by raising the mortgage rates, but we ain't over, and it's about to get a lot worse. We're going back. We just had a temporary solution, and the temporary solution was to rob oil and gas from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. You can't do that forever. Your gas is about to start costing you more. Your food, your goods, your services are about to start costing you more. And if you're like many Americans, the only place you can turn is to your credit cards, and the interest rate on them is 24%. You're getting killed. Look, from the real estate doom loop to your credit cards, to the high cost of fuel, to the inflation that will follow, and the high interest rates that will keep going up in order to try to kill off the inflation, this is not a good scenario. You would like to find one glimmer of hope in all of this. But when you look at it, no glimmer can be found. It's 51 minutes past the hour. Well, the Wellness Institute of Nashville has done it again. Write down this number and store it on your phone, 615-246-5009. Let me share something that is very important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell, a way to show your patriotism through the flying of our grand old flag. The Wellness Institute of Nashville is putting American flags back into cities and towns with something called the Patriot Way Project, and already the Wellness Institute is responsible for having flown over 75 brand new flags. You can donate to this project at patriotwayproject.com, or come and see Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Ashley Mitchell over at the high-tech spinal facility in Mount Juliet. They want you to know that when you visit their facility for spinal or knee treatments, they will be giving back to your community. So if and when you have bulging or herniated discs, sciatica, tingling, numbness of the arms or legs, weakness, spinal stenosis, fatigue, spinal back or neck pain, knee pain, or meniscus thinning, come and see us at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. And tell your friends and loved ones about the Patriot Way Project at patriotwayproject.com, and learn more about the Wellness Institute of Nashville by giving them a call or by looking at their website. The number, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have two people here, they're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck. And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person finally at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing, education, and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
Let me tell you about the folks over at United Structural Systems. Good people, been around for 25 years, 25,000 satisfied customers, residential customers, and they can help you if you have a problem with your structure or a waterproofing issue in your house. They're the people you want to call. I mean, this is A-list number one call for this kind of work. They're, by the way, great reputation, really honest people. And I say a great reputation. Ask anybody; they'll tell you these folks are really good. So here's the thing: don't take my word for it. Listen to what some people have said. This is Jeffrey. The service was A+++, and the installation crew was incredibly professional. They arrived when they said they would. They provided constant updates throughout the project. They cleaned up after themselves. They walked me through what they did when they completed. On top of all that, the work they did actually solved my problem. I am extremely pleased with USS and the whole product from start to finish. Also, they did not try to upsell me on any unneeded services or products. Well, isn't that what you want? Somebody's just going to come in and tell you, hey, here's the solution to your problem. And if you want to go forward, just to get out of our way, and we'll charge you when it's all done. You don't pay a penny until the work is finished. So listen, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, you need to reach out to USS, where they guarantee their best. Serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com. The number 615-488-7855.
.601, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 88 degrees in Nashville. Got a weather forecast and the latest traffic report on the way. An update on the Clarksville shooting that happened today. A suspect is at large in the shooting that happened around 3:15 today near Wilma Rudolph Boulevard and Holiday Drive. Surrounding roads have been closed as well as officials have a perimeter set up. One victim injured. People in the Single Tree subdivision have been asked to stay indoors and report any suspicious activity. And staying in Tennessee right now, FBI agents raided a home in West Nashville today. During that raid, the FBI was forced to draw the weapons when an SUV pulled up in the middle of the street and stopped. Channel 4's Michael Warwick explains what happened.
An SUV hightails it away from FBI agents in West Nashville as they completed a raid on $1 million home overlooking the city. The FBI could be seen taking vehicles, electronics, and other items from the property. They would not reveal the purpose for the raid, but one person was placed in handcuffs and multiple law enforcement agencies were on scene.
And neighbors say they never saw or noticed anything out of the ordinary at that home until today. Right now in Middle Tennessee, News 2 says that the city's code director, Laverne's city's code director, has been fired after allegations of sexual harassment. Two women claimed that Randolph Salyers sexually harassed them and made, quote, unwanted physical contact and verbally suggestive remarks. And witnesses have come forward to these allegations. Salyers was first placed on administrative leave on August 21st, then fired yesterday. And this comes after the Laverne Police Department sex scandal where multiple officers, including the police chief, were fired. That was 7 months ago. And a first-of-its-kind lawsuit has been filed against the government by the family of a woman who died in the wildfire that burned nearly a month ago in Lahaina on Maui. Alex Stone.
Rebecca Rands could not escape the wildfire. She tried to get away. Her escape routes were cut off, and she was overtaken by flames and died in Lahaina. Now the father of the 57-year-old is filing a lawsuit against the county of Maui and the state of Hawaii, naming them as co-defendants, claiming they are liable for her death because of invasive, non-native, and flammable grasses that have been allowed to spread on Maui that he says should have been cut down. He says the deaths were preventable. He also names Hawaiian Electric and a major landowner on Maui for being responsible for his daughter's death.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is 8 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, in for one more hour before we hand it off to Mark Levin. The great one, he truly is the great one, simply the best. He'll carry on through the evening. Got a lot of stuff going. It's not official until I put the staple in it. Okay, there we go. Hunter Biden, special counsel, will seek indictment on gun charges. This is David Weiss. Hunter Biden is expected to be indicted on a federal gun charge by the end of September. Special counsel David Weiss and his legal team told U.S. District Judge Mary Ellen Noriega on Wednesday. Noriega had set Wednesday as a deadline to hear from both sides about how to move forward on the diversion agreement that would have allowed Hunter Biden to avoid jail time for a felony charge on lying on a federal form when purchasing a firearm in 2018. The expected charges, now announced, come after an original plea agreement collapsed in July. Hunter Biden was expected to plead guilty in July to 2 misdemeanor tax counts of willful failure to pay federal income tax as part of the plea deal to avoid jail time on a felony gun charge. But Noriega of the U.S. District Court for the District of Delaware declined to accept the plea deal, and man, I'm glad she did, because she smelled a rat there, and she was right. She described the DOJ's deal as unconstitutional and not standard and different from what I normally see. So, you may remember Hunter Biden was forced to plead not guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and 1 felony gun charge. Since then, Attorney General Merrick Garland tapped Weiss to serve as a special counsel with jurisdiction over the Hunter Biden investigation and any other issues that have come up or may come up related to the probe. I mean, he's got carte blanche, David Weiss does, to do anything that he wants to do. And if it's true that he was stymied by the department and by the FBI and others at the IRS, etc., from doing his job in the first place, and he simply wants to be able to complete his task, well, we'll see the first sign of whether he's serious about this or whether he's, just going to be a patsy who gives Hunter Biden a rap on the knuckles, will be when he goes into court on this weapons charge. A source with knowledge of the event that occurred on October 23rd of 2018 said that Hallie Biden, the widow of President Biden's late son, Beau, who was in a relationship with Hunter at the time, threw a gun owned by Hunter in a dumpster behind a market near a school. A firearm transaction report reviewed by Fox News indicated that Hunter purchased the gun earlier that month. On the firearm transaction report, Hunter Biden answered the negative when asked if he was an unlawful user or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulus, narcotic drug, or any controlled substance. And, of course, he was. Hunter Biden was discharged from the Navy in 2014 after testing positive for cocaine. Weiss, the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, has been leading the Hunter Biden investigation for years. His appointment as special counsel comes amid allegations of politicization, impacting prosecutorial decisions and the year-long investigation. Okay, so Hunter Biden, now it will happen between now and the end of this month, and that will be the first sign. Okay, is David Weiss serious, or is he a patsy? Is he out to actually mete out justice, or is he someone who is simply just looking for a way to get this whole thing over with in a way that continues to give Hunter Biden no jail time, no real penalty? We'll be watching to see. So that's new today. We be on alert sometime between now and the 29th of September. It'll be before then, probably. The author of a new biography on Joe Biden has said it would be a total shock. I want to get this right. The author of a new biography by Joe Biden has said it would not be a total shock if the president were to cancel his reelection bid by the end of the year. If only somebody else had been saying this. Franklin Foer, whose book, The Last Politician, Inside Joe Biden's White House and the Struggle for America's Future, is published this week. He told NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday It doesn't take Bob Woodward to understand that Joe Biden is old, referring to the Watergate reporter who is also old. I'm not a gerontologist, but I can predict how the next couple years will age Joe Biden. Asked if Biden could drop out of his re-election bid, Ford said, "It would be a surprise to me, but it wouldn't be a total surprise to me." The comments came a day ahead of the president's Labor Day visit to Philadelphia. The president also addressed his age issue, remarking the only thing that comes with age is wisdom. That's right. You get old, you get wise, and we've always said that Joe Biden is a wise guy. A wise guy, hey? Yeah, I mean, no doubt about that.
Hush up, boy.
Yeah, he's a wise guy. Come on, you got it.
Mr. Wise Guy over here.
Yeah. That always makes me laugh. A lot of questions about his age and competency. But then you have, on the other side of the equation, Mitch McConnell, who's had a couple of absolute brain freezes. There's no doubt about it. No other way to describe it. And he's going to stay in office. But honestly, the difference between being the majority leader of the Senate, where you can, if you have moments of lucidity, where you can sit down and you can talk about, okay, here's our strategy, here's how we're going to do it. It's not the same thing as being the leader of the free world. It's not the same as being the commander-in-chief with your finger potentially on the nuclear button. It's not the same thing because the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, is responsible for the welfare of American people. Also, he's responsible for enforcing the Constitution and the laws of this country. Those aren't jobs that are held on Mitch McConnell. It's apples and oranges. You just can't put those two things together. But there you have it. One biographer said, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be totally surprised. I don't know how it's going to work out. But I look at him every day and I see how badly he's failing and how he can't get on any kind of public stage without making a goof or saying something stupid or mumbling or saying and are walking off the stage like a little lost puppy not knowing where he's supposed to go. That happened again yesterday. I just can't look at and real. I mean, there's going to be a moment. There's going to be a moment like the one we saw with Mitch McConnell where he just completely becomes nonsensical. And it could be the determining factor. The problem is they're just not putting him out that much. But it will happen. It will happen. Former President Trump outperformed President Biden in a new survey of unlikely voters. I don't know why this matters, but I think it's interesting. The Suffolk University USA Today survey released Wednesday, that's today, polled 900 U.S. citizens aged 18 and older, about half of them whom were registered to vote. And while the poll found respondents preferred Trump over Biden, more voted for either or other or undecided. When asked for whom they would vote or who they would lean for at this time, 15% said Biden, 27.5% said Trump, and nearly 28% said other. 5% said undecided, which comes, that's a lot. Another 8% chose Green Party candidate Cornel West, and about 7% refused to answer the question. But among those people who were considered unlikely voters, Trump wins. Now, how do you turn them from unlikely voters into likely voters? That's the question. But very interesting that if you could, that they sampled that particular group to get some kind of answer about how they would vote if they voted. And it looks like among that particular, do you call it a demographic, that Trump would win over Biden. And then there's this. Biden allies have not been shy about arguing that replacing Vice President Kamala Harris with Democrat California Governor Gavin Newsom would be racist. Speculation grows that Newsom will make a bid in 2024 if President Joe Biden is unable to do so. Some Biden allies have said the move would be seen as a problematic attempt to prevent Harris from becoming the first black female president. When you've had people who were trying to test the waters for a presidential bid, the party rose up and made it clear to those individuals who were mostly white men that to disrespect the vice president would not be well received by women and people of color within the party. A longtime Democrat strategist quoted in an NBC story about Democrats' struggle to get voters excited about Biden. They got a little bit of a smack in the face. Harris got the lowest vice presidential favorability rating in New York in NBC News history in June. The poll found that 32% of respondents had a positive opinion of the vice president, while 49% had a negative view. About half. She also faced critical media reports, tepid endorsement from fellow Democrats, and an exodus of staffers. I mean, that is the problem. If anybody comes in from the outside, it will be an acknowledgement that Kamala, the black female vice president, the first one, would not be able to meet, answer the bell if the bell were rung. And so, you're going to irritate a certain constituency within the Democrat Party. I don't know. Gavin Newsom standing by. Give me some Gavin Newsom. I mean, I think that's a pretty easy. Gavin Newsom, the governor of the most failed state in America. He'll do for America what he did to California. I can just see the ads now. Do you want, people shooting up drugs on the streets of your city in America? Then you want Gavin Newsom. I mean, those ads will run all day long, 24 hours a day. It's not going to be, I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I can tell you right now, I still believe with every fiber of my being, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I think we're going to find out that that Joe Biden cannot answer the bell, and somebody's going to have to step up. Gavin Newsom, I don't know. Kamala Harris, maybe. But it seems to me that, you just can't go to the people of America when 78% of Americans believe that he's too old for the job and ask them to reelect this guy. 20 minutes now past the hour. D.T. McCall, good company, been around for more than 100 years, and you don't make it over 100 years, more than a century, without treating people right. I have a lot of personal experience because I've bought a lot of things from my home here in bucolic Watertown from D.T. McCall's. I mean, I could go around the bed, the couch, this, that, the other, the appliances. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff. And each and every time it's been a great experience. And the reason I think that it was such a good experience is that Cabana wife and I, well, we have different outlooks on things. I like certain things. She likes others. Sometimes you think, well, it's going to be really hard to come together on something we both like. But when you go into D.T. McCall's, you find this huge selection. And what you're going to find is within a matter of moments, you're going to find something. Within seconds, we found the answer that we were looking for. That's because there's a lot of things to see. If you've been to a D.T. McCall's, you really should go. They're cavernous. Some of them are just room after room after room, and you think you've seen it all, and there's another room, and there's a whole nother room. So listen, let me suggest to you, if you are interested in buying an appliance or furniture or a mower or a gun safe or anything that you want for your family, then make sure that you get by D.T. McCall's. Find about their 5 convenient locations by going to their website, dtmccalls.com. It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive. Look, I never like to do this story, but I have to bring it to your attention. I believe that when you have great rights, you have great responsibilities. No greater right has been given to us than our First Amendment rights, and number two on the list is the right to own and to bear arms. I believe in the Second Amendment. I don't think you can have the First Amendment without the Second Amendment. I mean, I believe that's true. But I do think that if you are a believer in the Second Amendment, as I am, you understand that, you have great responsibilities that come with that right. And one of them is to make sure that you keep your guns safe. And I don't want to beat up on you, and I don't want to make you feel bad, but I mean, this is ridiculous. According to Metro Nashville Police Department, we're just talking about Davidson County here. As of August 5th, 844 guns have been stolen from vehicles in Nashville, 20 of them stolen in just the last week. That's right. On August 15th, the number was 777. On August 30th, it's 821. The data show that over the course of 3 weeks, 67 guns were stolen out of vehicles in Nashville. The total number of guns stolen in Davids County this year is 1,060. Nearly 80% of guns stolen in 2023 have been taken from vehicles. And so the Metro Nashville Police Department encouraging Nashvillians to lock automobile doors and secure your valuables, especially guns, and then make sure you remove the keys from your car. Folks, it couldn't be more simple. You have a weapon, you have a responsibility to keep it locked up and safe. In my own life, I put a gun safe in my truck. It's in the center hold, and it's got a place where I can put valuables and weaponry and anything that I want to put in there. And unless you know the codes, you're never going to get in there. I mean, it's a very solid thing. That's how seriously I take it. I think everybody's different, but I mean, you cannot leave a weapon in a car unlocked and expect that you're going to come back and that weapon is still going to be there. Please, folks, I don't want to wear you out on this. And, I hear people say, well, if there weren't so many gun-free zones, then people wouldn't leave their weapons inside the car. Well, okay, but you still have the responsibility. You cannot shirk that responsibility. If you need to do something, then lock it in the trunk, whatever you got to do, but make sure that you're doing everything, because what happens? These things are being stolen by hoodlums, and then crime goes up and violent crime goes up. And, those people who did not lock up their guns are somewhat responsible for that. They really are. Again, the people most responsible are the people carrying it out, but you gave them the opportunity. Don't give the criminals an opportunity to become violent criminals, and don't give them the opportunity to take your gun. Lock it up, folks. Lock it, walk away, turn off the car, and lock it, and make sure that you are absolutely doing everything you can to secure your weapon. It's just good policy. It's what responsible gun owners do. It's 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, there's a lot of diagnoses out there. There's a pill for everything, but not all diagnoses are correct. And not all pills are good for you. When you get a diagnosis for European car repair, get a second opinion before you make a major decision. You see, Eurofix is a home for second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair from a diagnosis, go to Eurofix. It could not only save your vehicle's life, but could actually save you a lot of stress that ruins your life. Life's too short to get stressed out and angry. Be happy and go to Eurofix. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. Not high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you never pay dealer prices. Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com and tell them that Brian Wilson sent you. It is 36 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. We've got a few more minutes before we wrap things up and hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. We're so happy that you're with us here on this Wednesday that feels like a Tuesday. This story blew me away. I had no idea. In a million years, you would never imagine, I would think, that this guy would be out to try to save Anheuser-Busch and make a huge investment in beer. Who am I talking about? Can you imagine? Billionaire Bill Gates bought a whopping 1.7 million shares of Anheuser-Busch. And that's Anheuser-Busch, the umbrella company that brews Bud Light, which is going through, as you know, a lot of problems. Gates bought the Anheuser-Busch shares through his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust. His shares have a market value of $95 million, according to TipRanks. And of course, the Microsoft founder's investment come as Anheuser-Busch is still dealing with the fallout from its disastrous partnership with transgender TikTok influencer Dylan Mulvaney. While Anheuser-Busch may be enjoying the influx of cash, is Bill Gates as an owner something, or a part owner, something that you would want? You're not going to believe this. I had no idea. Bill Gates, I mean, you look at Bill Gates, you don't think, now there's a beer drinker. No, you just don't. You think of him, sitting around with a nice bottle of Malbec or something. I don't know.
I was thinking like apple juice or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Anything else is too strong for him.
Yeah. Well, as the Daily Mail notes, Gates already invested, I had no idea, $939 million in Heineken stock at the onset of the Bud Light controversy. Now, that's brilliant. Okay, Bud Light's going down. Let's invest in some Heineken, which is going to go up. And then you take, I guess, the money that you have left over from that, if you maybe made a little money on that deal, then you buy Anheuser-Busch stock. I mean, this guy, unbelievable. Apparently, earlier than that, in 2007, Gates made a $392 million purchase of a stake in FEMSA, whose brewery was sold to Heineken in 2010. So, I mean, here's a history of investing in beer. Unbelievable. It says the wholesalers would have an absolute heyday if they didn't, still talking about the Dylan Mulvaney thing. I don't know. When I look at this and I said, of all the people who would rush in to buy beer companies, you could see Warren Buffett doing it. I mean, that guy, he likes trains, he drinks beer. You just look at Warren Buffett, there's a beer drinker. But I mean, he bought up a lot of Anheuser-Busch. He bought up a lot of Heineken. Is he trying to corner the market on beer? Inquiring minds want to know.
Maybe just something. Sees it as a good investment. I guess maybe he thinks, okay, it's at the bottom. It's lost as much as it's going to lose.
All it's going to lose, right?
Yeah.
So I come in, look, I mean, I think what ultimately happens is it looks like to me, Bud Light, that brand is going to be sold back to the Anheuser-Busch family. And they'll take it and they'll say, we have regained control of this brand and we will never make that mistake again. Come on home, everybody. Anheuser-Busch and the Clydesdales, by God, we're going to tell you, this is where you need to be. I could see, the original owners could say, those woke people who bought us out, they didn't know what to do with the brand, but we do, and we know who our customers are. I mean, that's the one thing that could save Bud Light. It would have to go back to the original owners, and the original owners would have to throw the new owners under the bus. That's the only way. That's the only way it could work. So maybe he sees that as something that might happen. I don't know. One way or the other, Bill Gates buying up a lot of beer. And I just never in a million years thought he'd be the guy that would step up. There was a vehicle fire of an electric car in Franklin. And the Franklin Fire Department had a hell of a time putting out the fire. Franklin Fire Department authorities said departments across Middle Tennessee are struggling with electric vehicle fires and their car batteries, pointing to an example this week in a parking lot. Franklin Fire Marshal Andy King, according to News Channel 5, said that a Nissan Leaf caught fire at the car maker's headquarters in Cool Springs on Tuesday afternoon. The Leaf was in the fastest charging port, and firefighters had to apply water to the lithium-ion battery for several hours until the cell cooled off completely. I read in another story somewhere, I can't remember the source, but I read that it was thousands and thousands of gallons of water. Now, normally, you have a car fire with a car that has an internal combustion engine. You knock out a car fire in, a minute with a fire, but this went on for hours. And then I thought that was bad, but then I read this story and I thought, well, no, that's really, really, really bad. Electric vehicles are catching on fire after Hurricane Idalia made landfall in Florida last week. According to reports, 2 Tesla EVs ignited after salt water from the storm surge damaged their batteries and other electric components. One vehicle lit up in Pinellas Park, another occurred in Pearl Harbor. Carfax said owners need to understand the fire risk doesn't go away when the EV dries out, by the way. But think about this. You survived the hurricane, your house is intact, but you got a garage and maybe water got in there and surged in a little bit, got into the battery, caught the car on fire. You've lost your entire house, not to the hurricane, but to the fire that came from your car battery. People don't understand how dangerous these things are and how much it takes to put them out. The salt water that is flooding can get into the battery and dry there. And once it dries, it creates what federal safety officials call bridges between cells that can lead to fires, and those fires can come from anywhere from days to weeks later. Once an EV catches fire, it is incredibly difficult to put out. After Hurricane Ian, 21 electric vehicles caught fire in the state, prompting officials to warn residents ahead of Idalia's approach. We saw a number of fires associated with EVs from Hurricane Ian. I'm sorry. I don't know why I do that. Ian. We know that the salt water from storm surge can compromise these batteries, and they cannot be easily suppressed. The best fire teams can do is to keep water on the battery until the fuel burns out. If you're evacuating and leaving an EV or lithium-ion powered devices like scooters or golf carts in your garage, you are creating a real fire threat for your home, your communities, and first responders. Take this threat seriously. If there's even a small risk of your EV being impacted by the storm surge, move it to higher ground before it's too late. Okay, imagine, like you're in Lahaina or you've got a disaster and you realize, I got to get out of here. You got 2 vehicles there. One is your EV and one is your pickup truck. Which one are you going to take? I know which one I would take. I'd ditch that electric vehicle like it was a bad habit. I'd shake that thing and, I'd get out of there. But don't leave it in your house. And, if you can, get it to high ground. Again, flooding, electric vehicles, you're asking for a real problem, as we have seen. And it takes thousands of gallons of water and hours to put out the fire. Okay, there's this. And I was saddened to hear about this. And just as sad as I was recently, I think it was earlier this year, January, when they closed down Arnold's Country Kitchen. I mean, I've not been in Nashville all that many years. I guess I've been in here about 6 years now. And I love the town. And I had a good friend, Mark Fain, well-known bass player in this town, took me to guitar hopping. We went to different guitar shops one day. We ended up at one that was right next door to Arnold's. And he said, come on, let's go to Arnold's and have lunch. And said, no telling who you run into there. And that's true. There really is no telling who you'll run to at Arnold's. And he told me the story about how just about every day that he was in town, Chet Atkins would come to Arnold's to have lunch. I mean, it was like the locals all knew, Chet, because he would come in and have lunch there. Arnold's was, really quite the thing. The meat and three. When you talk about meat and threes in Nashville, Arnold's Country Kitchen is the one that, sort of set the standard. Well, Jack Arnold, the namesake and owner of Arnold's Country Kitchen, has died at the age of 86. He was working for Elliston Place Soda Shop, and Sylvan Park restaurant owner Lynn Chandler bought one of Chandler's other properties on 8th Avenue South in 1983. The property would eventually become Arnold's Country Kitchen and grow to become one of the city's brightest and most celebrated beacons for Southern fare in a city known for meat and threes. I mean, you got to love a good meat and three, man, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
The restaurant closed in January of 2023. I think it was being run by family by that point because Jack Arnold was, 86, 85, 86. He said, we closed it on our terms. Nobody's running us out. Arnold is survived by his wife, 9 children, and many grandchildren. He was born in a 3-room house without water or electricity outside Asheville, North Carolina. He said he was born on top of a white enameled kitchen table. That's the way they did it back then. A voracious leader with a reader with a fine storyteller himself, according to his obituary. His personality cast a wide net of the city's who from musicians and authors like Chet Atkins, Shel Silverstein, and Gore Vidal to local judges and public work employees, often sharing the same table. Many would become his treasured fishing buddies. I mean, it was sort of like going back in time. When you would go to get it, I didn't go there a lot, but I did go there 3 or 4 times. And it just, you felt like you were walking back in time. And it was true. You never knew who was going to walk in that place. Whoever was in town, hey, let's go to Arnold's. Let's go to Arnold's. So I'm so glad that Mark introduced me to Arnold's and that I got to go there before it closed down. And I'm saddened to hear about Jack Arnold passing at the age of 86. A man who very much was a part of the fabric of this community. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up with this because I still just can't believe this has been done. Now, I speak very highly of BNA. I think we have a great airport. Doug Crulin, the guy who's the CEO out there, we've had him on the show from time to time. I know he listens to this program, and I think nothing but high thoughts about him. I think he's a great guy, and I think we really have a world-class airport. However, I'm not sure about this.
Hey, BNA, this is Kristen Chenoweth.
That's right. Kristen Chenoweth is now the voice of BNA. She will be, she will be the one making the announcements and welcoming you to Nashville.
Reminding you, if you see any unattended items, to report them to the nearest BNA badged employee or call the airport emergency number at 615-275-1703. Don't forget to keep all your items within reach. Thank you for doing your part to keep BNA safe.
I don't know. I like Kristen Chenoweth. I mean, she's a great little actress, 4'11", but she's not from Nashville. She's not from Tennessee. She has does she have any real roots here? Not that I can tell.
She probably lives in the area, right? I mean, odds are she probably does.
I don't know. I don't know. She's from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Maybe she does, but I have not heard anybody talk about, their Kristen Chenoweth sighting here in Nashville ever.
Well, she's so small, you might miss her.
Yeah, you might. I mean, somebody like me, 6'4", I could be right next to her and I wouldn't even see her. But I think we should have gone with Trace Atkins.
That would be something else, yeah.
Hello, this is Trace Atkins. Welcome to Nashville. I mean, that would be great. Again, Doug, I love you, buddy, but I'm not sure about this one. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. All right, listen, busy bee, you have a problem with your air conditioner. Like I did the other day, I had a problem with my air conditioner, and I just called them, and they were down there the next morning. And they got it fixed and up and running, and no problem whatsoever. Maybe you have a small problem. Maybe you have reached that point. I mean, how old is your air conditioning system? Yeah, when they get to be, 15 to 20 years old, it's about time to change them out. They're not built to last forever. And if you need to do that, you're not going to find a better replacement plan than the folks at Busy Bee will put forward, whether it's your HVAC or your plumbing systems. Become a member of the Beehive Club. I am. For as little as $99, you get 3 thorough maintenance services on your system, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing, no overtime charges, and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your official Rude Pro partner. Here's the number, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have 2 people here. They're age 60. and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing education and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.